Hello, I'm Michelle.
And I'm Laura, and this is the Parentrepreneurs Club podcast, a fortnightly show to help you navigate the demands of being both a parent and a business owner. We will share lots of practical ideas, hints and tips, and our own and others' experiences of juggling work, family, health and finances. Above all, we want to help you find your purpose, define your identity, and banish any confidence gremlins that might be holding you back from the life you dream of. No matter whether you have children or not, there will be something here for you. Let's get started.
Thank you very much for joining me today, Richard. If you just want to just start by telling our listeners a little bit about you, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. So, my name's Rich Morris. I'm 38, Aquarius. I like long walks on the beach.
Sounds like a dating app you're doing now.
No, mine's much worse than that, to be honest with you. I work as a cyber account manager, which basically just means I manage the accounts for a cybersecurity firm called KryptoKloud, who are a 24/7 organization. So I basically get to work in the interesting and a little bit crazy world of cybersecurity and protecting organizations from Russians, from North Koreans, from Iranians, and from just very unpleasant people. And I get to protect people, and I get to help our clients be more protected. So it's a pretty good job.
Yeah, definitely. We've had a lot of conversations about this as well, and
Absolutely.
I think there's a lot of misunderstanding around the name of KryptoKloud sometimes as well.
Yes, just slightly, just the teeniest of tiniest of bits. Yeah. So it does actually come from the ancient Greek word knowledge. That's why the crypto is spelt like it is, and that's why it's there. We have absolutely nothing to do with cryptocurrency. I still get asked questions on it every single day from just random people. Go to networking events, of which I know I've been one with you, Laura, where someone was asking me in-depth questions and then told them that we did cybersecurity and not cryptocurrency. And then they continue for the next 15 minutes to continue to ask me these same questions about cryptocurrency. So if you ask me questions on that, I'm just going to give you the same answer, which is don't buy it. If you ask me about cybersecurity, I'm going to go buy it. That's pretty much my life in a nutshell, in 2 sentences.
No, I love it. I love it. I was going to ask you what's a common myth about your job, but I think that's probably one of them.
That is probably one of them. The mainframe doesn't exist. Everything you've ever seen in a Hollywood film that talks about the mainframe is lying to you. It is not real. Accessing a mainframe is not a real thing. It is one of the things that bugs cybersecurity analysts and professionals more than anything else. When you go, so what is the mainframe? Doesn't exist. You have a network, but you don't have a mainframe. So that's one of them. The other thing is, I think that I would say the biggest myth about cybersecurity is it's not going to affect me. And I'm going to do my absolute best not to sound like the angel of death here, which is kind of difficult when you're talking about cyber sometimes. But it affects all organizations, big, small, healthcare, funeral directors, hairdressers. You imagine from what the Americans call a mom and pop organization all the way up to Microsoft and literally everything in between. So basically, if you pop your head above the parapet, it's something to worry about.
Yeah, I think this is a big thing. And I know when I first spoke to you, I was saying as a small business owner, what can I do to protect myself? Because certainly when you are handling data, it is a big issue.
Yeah.
What would you kind of advise people on the best kind of strategies to deal with that?
It's a few things really that, some are really, really simple. Some, are slightly more complex. But first of all, actually have an understanding of what where your data is and what you're doing with it. Understand the fact that, really look at that data and try and understand, like, how sensitive is this information? If this information got out there in the wider world, how much, not just trouble would I be in, but how much trouble would that person be in? And that extends to, if you work in business to business as well. How much of a risk would I be taking if this got out there? Then ensure that you go through your basic things, that wherever possible you've got complicated passwords, usually sort of 12. Some people have said about going with the 3 random words, so I don't know. I'm a Prince fan, so let's go with purple, rain, and badger. That would be a random assortment of words. But just go with something like that, and as well as use multi-factor authentication. Yes, it is a pain, but that short period of time can save you a lifetime of hassle if things go wrong. Look at your email security. I think I've got this right. 76% of all cyber attacks stem from a phishing email, stem from a scam email sent to you. That's 76%. So if all you do is put on an cloud email security, you're literally nipping 76% of the chance of being attacked in the bud, right in the bud. But then, put on a decent antivirus. There are some sort of further versions called endpoint detection and response, which is looking for other things as well. So if you're really, really small, like really small, and you're just starting up, just get some decent licenses, not the ones that come free with your computer. Get something that's actually effective. You wouldn't do that with if your computer came with a CRM, you wouldn't be like, yeah, this is fantastic. This is going to do everything I want it to. You wouldn't. You'd think it's free for a reason. So, just put a little bit of time and a little bit of investment, because you're ensuring your data. If you've got members of staff, and, I come from a history of working for small businesses, and I know how much it's a family atmosphere. You imagine how devastated you'd feel if someone that you've known for 5-10 years and their information got stolen from you and they got scammed. Really take that to heart. If your family are like family, then treat their data like their family. And if you say you're taking a customer-centric approach from your customers or your clients, then really take that approach. Do the things that matter most. And there's loads of great resources as well. The National Cybersecurity Centre, which is based out of Cheltenham in a large donut-shaped building. Go to their website. There's so many resources there for advice. So yeah, that's kind of the long and short of it, I would say. And I've spoken for far too long.
I love that. No, that's great, Richard. Yeah, there's some really good advice in there as well. Yeah. So just moving on a little bit to
of course.
you.
Yeah.
Just because I'm really, we've talked a lot. We've had a lot of conversations about mindset. And personal values and drivers, and just how do you think? What are the kind of personal values that you feel have shaped your career to be as successful as you are?
Well, thank you for calling me successful. That's always a nice achievement. I would say that, I work in sales, but I actually started on a bit of a funny trajectory. So I actually started in retail, and I literally worked for an organization that had been going for well over 100 years. And I just worked in person-to-person sales. And, the thing that kept them going for so long, and sadly they're no longer open, but the thing that kept them going so long was that personal service. And treating people with respect and trying to be knowledgeable and friendly and understanding and empathetic and asking the right questions. And I spent a long time working in retail, worked for some bigger organizations as well, and that kind of mindset of real customer actual care. And I don't mean when something goes wrong, I mean actually wanting to see their success and realizing that working in sales is you're working as a service. If you really believe in what you're selling, if you really believe in the product or the service or whatever else you've got, it's so easy. And if you've got that passion for it and you've got that passion for what you're selling, every day is fun. It's not said every day is easy, but every day is fun.
Yeah, I love that. That's been a real realization for me as well, because when I started, I said to you, I hate selling. But actually seeing what you said, I did.
You did,
And
indeed.
when you said see sales as a service, if you're actually adding value to someone and you believe that is a valuable service, then it sells itself. And I think that's a really good tip.
No, absolutely. And it's a funny thing, really, because it's a funny phrase because everyone says about adding value, and it is probably the most No, you weren't using it as that, but I use it all the time. It is potentially one of the most cliched phrases used in all of business. Currently going through, or basically what will hopefully become an MBA, and added value is literally probably every fourth and fifth word used.
Really?
Yeah, all the time, all the time. I have nightmares about a guy called Michael Porter at this moment in time, and I've only been doing it for 2 months now, and I'm already having nightmares about him. If you've ever come across his work, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But the one thing is that, don't just think of it as monetary. You are adding value in a completely different manner. There are different values in life. And, if you are making, so in your role, obviously, if you are making an organization more effective and actually creating solutions that are making their employees happier, how much value is there in happiness? It's enormous. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
you literally cannot put a figure on it. Unfortunately, you actually can, because there have been studies that have shown that happier employees do more. But there is a core emotional root to it, and if you can find that, selling is the easiest thing on God's green earth. And for
Yeah.
me, what I do, I look at that core root of I hate bullies. I cannot stand bullies. And bullies who found a new niche way of hurting people, good people, I can't stand it. So it's that one thing that I kind of lean on, that passion. And I know that in your own regard, you've got the same kind of passion, for what you do. And it's a wonderful thing. And I think it's funny that when you're passionate about something, people say, "Oh, you're knowledgeable." It's like, I'm not knowledgeable. I just really care.
Yeah, and you are knowledgeable, Richard.
I try. I try. I've only been doing this about 14, 15 months. So there's people with a lot more knowledge, but I think something else for anyone just who works in sales, be extremely confident about what you know, but also be extremely confident about what you don't have the blindest clue about. And be curious. Just be curious, really.
Yeah, I say that all the time. Be curious. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. It was funny because some people may know this about you, some people don't. Obviously, you do some NLP work, and my MD, she'll hate me for telling you this, saying this on on a podcast, but she's not the most confident person to do public speaking. She had to do some. It was part of a course she was doing. She needed to do it. And I know that number one, you did an amazing thing, but I know number two, that curiosity about her own behavior and about her own thought pattern was something that was kind of deeply ingrained in that. And it's quite fascinating, actually, that the more people I speak to who I would deem to be successful, the more I find they're actually more curious about everything else around them. They're curious about people. They're curious about things. And just that nature of curiosity seems to mean that you ask better questions. And when you get better questions, you get more interesting answers. And then that becomes more self-perpetuating because you learn more. So it's funny how it all comes down to passion and curiosity, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, yeah, having that, self-belief, but also questioning yourself, as well as anyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is fascinating.
Yeah, it is. It's an amazing thing once you start looking into it. And mine's looking at your mindset can sometimes seem a bit, and I know we've joked about this before, it seem a bit woo-woo.
Yeah.
It's something that you go to an ashram and get hit with sticks, and then have to be one with the world, and it's not. It's just about finding what makes you tick, and then how do you make that tick even better and even more
Yeah.
accurately.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal. I think that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's huge. That was the thing that, I tell leaders is that you can't manage a team or lead a team unless you understand how to lead yourself.
Mm.
Because you need to understand how you're coming across to other people and what reactions you're going to get.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for you, it must be kind of a difficult thing when you've got someone in front of you who says a leader, and you're saying it, and they may be nodding, but you can see behind the eyes that nothing's going on, and they're just going, "Yes, yes, I do need to know myself," and you can just see them go, "Not a chance. I know exactly who I am," and they never really, again, have that curiosity about themselves.
Yeah, there has to be an openness. Yeah, definitely. So otherwise it just won't work.
No.
Yeah.
That's it. Oh, cool.
But another question for you. So when you're thinking about like what's been the most successful thing you've done in your career, what would you say it was, or what would you say got you there, do you think?
Oh, most successful.
Or most important lesson you've learned, perhaps?
I would say, yeah, I was going to say it's an interesting one. I can probably go with both. And neither one were what what anyone would say is the biggest. But I think the first time, one of my businesses, the first time I worked on a business to business sale that was for the organization, a substantial size. And it was selling something amazing. It was selling, there's a software company based from where I'm from in Worcester that makes software for the visually impaired. And there was a big sale to a government department, and they were looking at dropping us. I managed to chat with them, I had presentations with them, taught them all through it. And they kept us on and actually expanded that service. But I knew what the other company were that they were using, and I believed in that service and that product more. And it wasn't just the fact that it was the company I worked for; it was that there was a company from where I was from making this software that was doing incredible things, and getting that chance to say, "Hey, little Worcester, it doesn't half produce some decent stuff." And the same is true of Lincoln as well, to be honest with you. But yeah, that was a real, getting that through was that was a real sort of real big thing for me. And then I would say the best lesson I've ever had. I think the best lesson I've ever had is that as much as it hurts, embrace failure. And if you want to work in sales, if you don't like failure, find something else. Seriously, find something else, because you are going to fail many more times than you're going to succeed. But and it's hard, and it's funny how if you count retail as well, I've been working in sales for over 20 years, and still sometimes failure hits you hard, and it is disorientating, and it makes you question things. But having that resilience and building that resilience within yourself, that, okay, I will let myself feel what I'm feeling, but once I've felt it, I'm going to put it to one side. I'm going to take the failure that's just happened, and I'm going to look through it and go, was there something I could have done differently? Was there anything I could have done differently? And if I did everything possible that I could, and I did everything in my mind right, and I can live with myself with it, then it just wasn't meant to be. But if I didn't, and there was something I could have done differently, what's that lesson? Focus on that lesson and learn it and repeat it until you've got it perfect, or as close to as perfect as you can get it. Then go ahead and then fail in more spectacular, wonderful ways, which will happen. And then make that make that little bit, work on it and work on it and work on it until that's phenomenal. And then repeat the process again, because somewhere in between all of those failures are going to come better and better successes. I really do believe that.
Yeah, I think that's a great outlook. And one of the foundations of NLP is there's no such thing as failure, only feedback.
Yeah.
So exactly what you said there, that reflecting on it and thinking, what can I learn from this and do differently? Yeah, I love it.
What was that? What's the Thomas Edison phrase? I didn't fail. I just found 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb.
Yeah.
Which is a great phrase.
It is absolutely. So one other question is, because you naturally deal with risks as part of your day-to-day job.
Mm-hmm.
But when we think of like risks to personal health and well-being, and this is a big thing, for me, and employee engagement, and looking at how people can have that resilience. Have you experienced this with people having a constant switch onto technology, and what kind of suggestions would you say to mitigate those risks?
So from a personal perspective, I would say, so I'm quite open about things, and this as well. So I'm very open about my mental health and a range of different things. So for those who know me, it won't come as a surprise. Those who don't, so I have clinical anxiety and depression. So it's something that I deal with on a daily basis, take medication, done therapy, etc. Still do it every day, and I work on myself every day. And there's a million and one different ways of doing that. With technology, with its risks, there are, social media especially, there are massive, massive risks. Twofold really from my perspective, and I have gone through this myself. Number one is the dopamine hit it gives you is not good. Your human Something else about me is I did a degree in psychology, and the human brain is not designed to continually be spoon-fed dopamine. And if you're wondering what dopamine sounds like, the next time Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or anything goes bing at you, that is done deliberately to stoke your dopamine, because something is interacting with you, something new, something novel. And that's great, but the brain looks for more and more and more. And I could repeat that infinitely. And it starts to drain on your brain. It stops becoming as exciting, so you have to do it more and more, which means you find yourself going down that tunnel. That's not good for you, because you're not actually living a life. You're just basically stuck on this application. But B, look at what's on those applications. Instagram, I know that Instagram has caused so many challenges to people's own belief about themselves and belief about the world around them, and seeing more inadequacies within themselves rather than seeing the incredible things about them. And, to a certain extent, all of life has a superficial element. Everything does. But when it's being shoved down your throat, again, the brain just can't take it. And I think from a personal perspective, the risks of social media have to be tempered. I am incredibly lucky to be, weird thing to say, but I'm incredibly lucky to be 38, because I did not grow up with social media. And I know you've got kids. I mean, I don't have kids myself, but I've got a niece and nephew, and I know you've got kids. And I do worry what's going to happen moving forward for kids who've had dopamine rushes, and then through those awkward, terrible years when you're a teenager and the whole world is against you, and your first heartbreak is you'll never recover again. You imagine having all of that, and all the things like bullying and all that crap as well. You imagine having all of that but never being able to escape from it.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine it.
I think that's the biggest worry, as a parent as well.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I always remember them saying that the Facebook, they call their users, and the only people, who you would refer to as users is normally associated with drugs.
Yep.
So yeah, that dopamine hit is just it's scary.
Yeah, it is. And I'll be honest with you, I'll say, coming from a perspective of, I've said about my own mental health challenges, I'll be honest, I've fallen foul to it. I know it. I actually know it deep inside myself that this is a completely wrong thing to do, but your brain doesn't work rationally. And if you settle on that, and you set yourself strict boundaries, keep to them, because if you don't, you can end up going down a rabbit hole. And it has led to some bad things in my life. And I'm very much urge people, especially if they got kids, just be mindful. Just be mindful, because this is just, they've spent their life with this app, with these apps. They've spent their formative years and their formative years of building resilience. And if they don't get a respite, which phones mean that you don't, they're going to struggle. So you find creative ways, go out to the middle of nowhere, go, have time where you put your phone in. I've seen these amazing lock boxes, so when you're having like dinner, everyone's got to throw it in. I did see somebody, funnily enough, on social media, who they'd literally created like a safe, and until you put your phone in your safe, you did not get food, which I thought is you can tell they're American, which is a little bit militant, but simultaneously absolute genius. So it was. But I love that, and I think that's something that, one of the things that people get accused of, especially the younger generation, Gen Z, is they don't have that resilience. And I think sometimes actually just they need to take some time completely to themselves and just be just themselves. Nothing else around, just be themselves. And I think that helps to decompress, and that decompression then builds toughness, and it builds a hardening of your spirit. And then from there, that's what leads on to becoming more resilient. So that's my thought on it anyway.
Yeah, no, I love that, and thank you so much for your honesty there, Richard, because
That's all
I
right.
mean we've had some in-depth conversations, yeah, and
Absolutely.
appreciate that, and I think if people listening that are going through similar things as well, it's important to know.
Yeah, just talk to someone. If you ever go through stuff like that, just talk to someone, whoever it
Yeah,
is, whether it's, there's so many resources. And, whilst I deal with the risks of technology, the one thing I can say is that it could be very easy for me to be cynical about technology. I'm not. It is absolutely incredible what it can do and the people that it can help, especially people with conditions such as my own, it's amazing. I am certain that there are people whose mum and dads are still with us to this day because of technologies like that. That brothers, sisters, your mums, your dads, that's wives, girlfriends, boyfriends, husbands. There's people here who are here because thanks to technology. There's people who engage who would have normally been lonely because of technology. Without technology, I think COVID would have been an absolute horror show. I think it
mm,
could have genuinely been an absolute horror show, but it brought us together. So I will never be, I will never downplay it. I will never put
yeah,
it down. It is that shining city on the hill. It's just one that you just need to make sure is guarded with a really, really big wall, with a
yeah.
fence on top, with armed guards around it. But
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And you're so right because yeah, we curse technology a lot.
mm,
Um but there's so many benefits to it. So yeah.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Well, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Well, we probably would be, but there probably wouldn't be other people listening.
Yeah, it's very true, very true.
Feels
So
slightly voyeuristic now I say it.
so final question, Richard.
Yeah.
I'm an avid reader. I know you are as well.
Mhm.
So what would be your top book recommendation for our listeners?
Okay. Can I pick one business and one, let's say one fiction?
Yeah, of course you can. If you could tell us why you'd recommend them as well, that'd be great.
Yeah, of course. So, what do they say? Business before pleasure. So, the business one is a book called Turn This Ship Around. It's done by L. David Marquette. Now, he was a US submarine captain on a brand new attack sub. Unfortunately, it was so brand new that he didn't actually know how to command this sub. He didn't know all the instruments, didn't know all the information, and the crew that he had were unfortunately the lowest ranked crew in the entire US Navy. That's including battleships, etc., and aircraft carriers. They went from within, I think it was about 12 months, they went from the lowest rank to the absolute highest rank through creating a learning culture, through pushing down authority down to knowledge, and through making it a much more proactive culture. It was one of the
Um,
most incredible things. As I said, I believe that the lessons that basically he figured out are now taught in the US Naval Academy. He is also star author, keynote speaker. He's done some incredible things since he's retired from the US Navy. So yeah, anyone who is looking how do I get the most out of my team, or how do I get the most out of my organization? So, if you've just started out a business or you've got a few people working for you, read it, because start now. Because if you start now, that is just going to feed on. And to be honest with you, you're probably actually going to set the kind of culture and tempo that will actually allow you to rocket through your competitors, absolutely rocket through, and it will shine through you. Um, Personal book. It's funny. I always say like, oh, I'd like to pick two just to be an awkward git. And now I'm just struggling to think of one. But the one that I was going to say is just to do with security and to do anything else. Is George Orwell, 1984. I th-
oh,
for two reasons. Number one, if you can finish it, you'll feel proud of yourself because it is an absolute beast. Um, and number two, I think it does touch on your own liberty, your own mindset as well.
mm,
And I think sometimes that double think is something that's out there in the world and is even out there in the IT and information digital age. That's just having a healthy skepticism of some things isn't a bad idea. And I think that's the one thing that you come away from that book is that a healthy skepticism is a good thing. Not tinfoil hat wearing though, but a healthy skepticism.
Yeah, amazing. No, I love both of those, and I've not read either, so I will put them on my book list.
Worth a read, definitely worth a read.
Yeah.
If you haven't read them by next time I see you, I'm gonna be very disappointed. So
I know. Yeah, I've got a challenge now.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, especially since I think the next networking meeting's in about a week's time. So good luck.
Yeah,
have you ever seen? No, absolutely. Well, life's about challenges.
Very true, but I think 1984 is going to take me some time.
It's all right. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay. So, if people want to find out more about KryptoKloud and get in contact with you, how can they do it?
Yep, so they can contact KryptoKloud. Well, first of all, if you want to check out our website, it's www.kryptokloud.com. If you want to get in touch with the team, so myself, my colleague Mike, or long-suffering colleague Mike, because he has to work with me on a daily basis, you can get in touch with us on sales@kryptokloud.com, or you can give us a call on 01522 437 123. We're also on LinkedIn, so put in KryptoKloud or put in Richard Morrison, look for the guy who talks a lot about coffee, and you'll probably have found me. And if you haven't, you found a doppelganger of me, so please let me know.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time today, Richard. Really enjoyed our chat.
Absolute pleasure, Laura. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. We rely heavily on word of mouth, so if you found value in this episode, please hit subscribe and share it with family and friends. If you'd like to find out a bit more about us, you can find us on our Facebook group, Parentrepreneurs Club, or alternatively on Instagram, Parentrepreneurs_Club. We hope you have a great week and we look forward to talking to you next time.